incident 2 weeks ago when I cut short your presentation to the City Council. The City of Westminster respects the free speech rights of citizens and has set aside this time during our City Council meetings to allow citizens to address us. In light of the fact that I cut short your allocated 5 minutes at the City Council meeting of August 11th, I will exercise my prerogative as the chair and ask that you keep your comments tonight to 10 minutes or less. And upon that, I will start the timer whenever you start.
Thank you, Mr. Atchison. I appreciate that. Good evening. For anyone who may not recognize me, I'm Eric Brandt. I'm addressing you tonight not merely to put a face to a name already well recognized, but to introduce a person who, like each of you here, has elected to be an active participant in a system we all believe in. Our system works, and it works well. We have inherited an imperfect system of government by the people, which necessarily works best when the people find cause to invest themselves therein. We each serve and nourish our free society through distinct, varied, and essential functions. Our calls to duty are rarely founded in the pleasure of the tasks before us, but rather founded in the hope that our actions, however unpleasant we may find them, will ultimately be judged as keeping with the highest traditions of liberty and justice for all. In the past 4 months, I have protested with the infamous middle finger for only 36 actual days. Not everyone approves of the language or the gesture, but those in opposition are dwarfed by the literally thousands of people who have nodded, smiled, waved, cheered, and sometimes flailed out their car windows in approval. Virtually viral on Facebook within 72 hours, well over 2,000 people in this community have stopped to talk or take a picture with me. Countless others have been seen passing by, cameras in hand. Family members rarely heard from, and even some as far away as Connecticut, have reported that my picture has made it across their computer screens. Even when I do not protest, I am still cheered, recognized, or questioned out in the community. One noteworthy local business owner stands out to me. Meeting me across his parking lot, he told me that when he saw my sign, his first thought was, there goes a person in a lot of pain. Bingo, he hit the nail on the head. It's important to recognize that I did not just jump out of bed one morning with a giant middle finger. The finger was earned through 3 years of police abuses of authority, excessive force, a 27-second illegal tasing, cover-ups, witness grooming, rudeness, multiple flat-out illegal arrests, constant roadblocks to basic government access, massive armed intimidations, warrantless and baseless entries, plural, into my home, illegal ejection of guests in my home, and a torturous intrusion into my private life. My complaints were answered in writing with, I certainly have no intention of filling in the blanks. Nothing I did to seek redress or accountability from this board, including filing of pending litigation, has had any effect other than ridicule, the presumption that I was not credible, that I was nuts, that I was crazy, and that I was essentially undeserving of both rights and dignity. Arresting me for using sidewalk chalk to protest here was followed by bogus punitive prosecutions. You see, I was compelled by duty to escalate with more sidewalk chalk and the ever-vivid giant middle finger. The city, it would appear, remains unmoved, as I have been arrested numerous times for these as well, and of course my arrest during my attempt to deliver this speech at the last meeting. A number of officers, however, Sergeant Esslinger and Detective Infranca in particular, have gone out of their way to behave respectfully, and we have earned a mutual respect. A number of other officers have followed suit with them, and I thank all of them for that. Even Officer Drew Smith, with whom I have a legitimate complaint, has shown promise and integrity by recognizing his error in private and apologizing to me. These officers are the role models. It is therefore with conflicted mind that I come to you tonight. There is still much work for us to do. I hope you understand that I am ethically bound to preserve my rights in the jaywalking and other abuses, with additional notices of litigation. There have been a number of actions constituting prosecutorial misconduct and the appearance of external court pressure from this group to get me out of Westminster. The sanctity of the judicial system, and in keeping with the ideals of our constitutions, demand disqualification of the Westminster Court and a change of venue. I am further committed and duty-bound to hold Westminster accountable for neglect and abuses. There exists a culture of power entitlement within the Westminster Police Department that must be immediately arrested. The majority of our police officers are good officers who will undoubtedly shine once the malacculturation has been corrected. There remains attitudes and motives within the city administration that must moderate before we can sincerely and respectfully work together to reach a global resolve to all our issues. The public needs to be reminded that each person can and does make a difference in our community. It is a system of government by the people, and therefore the people must participate. And also, some in our community were of the mistaken belief that my hiatus meant that I had been beaten into silence. I will not be silenced. For these reasons, I have elected to resume my protesting. It is my sincere hope that the respect I have earned within the department and the city will not be lost therein. I ask you to recognize that my goals can only be met through the reintroduction of the middle finger sign. While I do not myself entirely believe the message, regrettably, fuck cops is the message that indeed provokes the public to respond as I desire. Westminster Police Department Policy 101.2.3 reads, in the long run, it must be the people, not this department, who determine the limitations on their freedom. We, the people, are pushing you back tonight. Moving forward, it's important to me that the City of Westminster sincerely discuss options tending toward the following four major outcomes. First, cultures which are contrary to the published ideals and policies of this city can only be arrested when top leadership is replaced regularly and selected from a pool of qualified candidates from outside our geographical region. The culture of power entitlement currently oppressing this department and the restoration of the public's trust demands the replacement of Police Chief Burke and his deputy chiefs. This transition might prove smoothest if begun very soon. Second, I would like the city to consider the implementation of some restorative justice style process with community oversight to manage complaints and allegations of misconduct. Restorative justice processes are proving invaluable to communities adopting them worldwide to foster trust and understanding and to engender the public partnership with our law enforcement as one community. Third, it's time for us to have intellectually sound discussions on reaching a global disposition to all of our issues. Specifically, I am less interested in the fall, as the recoveries are always more intriguing and pertinent anyway. I am motivated by mutual growth and understanding more than any other single cause. I look forward to transparent accountability and restoration. And fourth, finally, it has come to my attention that Westminster has displayed hostility to our community's homeless and impoverished. Notably, malacculturated police officers, be it by motive or directive, have been advising various homeless persons that Westminster is not a transient-friendly community. To the end that some have even been driven to the other side of the bridge where they're more tolerant to you kind of people. I have even heard reports like, I would shoot you people myself if I could. When these folks asked for identification of these officers, and consistent with my own experiences for the past 3 years, the standard practice is to be fresh out, or I don't have to give you that. This is in direct defiance of the Westminster Police Department Policy 102.4.28 identification, which reads, department employees shall carry their badges and identification cards on their persons at all times when they are on duty or armed. Employees should furnish their names and/or badge number to any person requesting that information when they're holding themselves in official capacity. Therefore, in keeping with the published standards already adopted in Westminster, I hereby formally decree that Westminster is in fact a transient-friendly community, where engineers and homeless persons alike are treated with fairness and dignity. Bias-based policing of people simply upon the appearance or knowledge that their life is given hardship will not be tolerated. The detention, intimidation, and mental and physical abuse of any person not actually creating a legitimate injury to society will not be tolerated. These people are part and parcel to our community, and no person has been legitimately aggrieved by a woman sleeping in the park. And I assure you that woman has been victimized when sequestered to the shadows. We cannot undo the acts which are done. Ours is to manage effectively the consequences of our acts. Do we choose today to ignore our acts and foster further error and injury? Or do we choose to stand up and instill to our posterity that ours is a time-honored monument to integrity, participation, and accountability, which they too can inherit with pride and duty?
Mr.
Thank
Brandt,
you.
your 10 minutes are up.
Good night.
Thank you. This time, we'll open the floor to anyone else who has any item they'd like to come forward to and speak about. The only thing we ask is you make sure that you identify yourself by name and your address. And since we have no other public hearings tonight,